Hi everyone, I'm Celeste. Welcome to my BookTube channel. Today I just wanted to do a nice chatty catch-up and let you know what I've been doing lately and reading lately. And I have a number of books to share with you here today. In the next few weeks I will have sort of an all-out June haul of summary titles to share with you, but I just wanted to catch up with you about some of the books I've been enjoying so far in June. The first one I wanted to share with you, oh my goodness, I loved this book. I had read a short story and I, at the time, had remarked to myself that the author really struck a chord with me. That's one of the things I love about short stories, because sometimes it introduces you to a writer you otherwise never would have read. And so that was the case here. And I had read a story by the author Eva Ibbitson in a short story collection. And I decided to try one of her romances. And the one that I had gotten was called The Morning Gift by Eva Ibbitson. This book, first of all, look at the beautiful, beautiful cover. And oh my gosh, you guys, this book. Yes, I loved it. It was written and published in 1993. First of all, don't read the introduction because there's spoilers in it. Says there's an introduction by Sarah Manning, and it's a good introduction, but don't read it because it gives a lot of it away. So wait till after you've finished reading it. This is a romance. Even though it was written in 1993, it has a very old-fashioned style to it. And so if you are a lover of older books, vintage books, sort of old-fashioned books, I think you might like this. It did take me a few chapters to get into the cadence and the rhythm of the author. It's a little different from some other authors I've read. But I decided to stick with it, and after, I would say, chapter 2, I was smitten. It is set on the eve of World War II. It takes place in Vienna, Austria, in 1938, and Hitler is marching into Vienna, and the Anschluss is going to be taking place. So yeah, it is about a girl named Ruth Berger, and her father is a professor who works at the local university, and he works in the natural history department. But then they pass some laws, the Nuremberg laws that take place after the Anschluss, and nobody who is not quote-unquote racially pure in the Nazis' eyes cannot hold any kind of high office. And so her father, the professor, is let go from the university. And soon after, the family has to flee to England. Unfortunately, Ruth gets trapped behind, and she needs help from a family friend to get her safely to England. Part of the novel takes place in Vienna, Austria, and then the second part takes place in England. It talks about the refugees. At one point, Ruth has a job as a waitress at some tea rooms in a sort of rundown area of town where a lot of refugees are staying. And the descriptions of the tea room and the refugees and all of the walks of life that they came from, academia, the opera, symphony orchestras, is just marvelous. It's really well written. And not only that, I mean, look at here, first of all, all of these pages that I marked, these are all references to musical pieces. And so I am in fact making a playlist of all of the music that I heard in here. And while this book does take place over a number of seasons, if I were to read it again, I think I would probably start it in August and carry it into September, because it definitely has a sense of heat in the city, both the heat in Vienna and then elsewhere as well, and just the sights and the sounds. And she discusses how in the air you can smell vanilla. Things like that are just, I love it. How has this novel never been turned into a major movie, or at least a public television miniseries for like Masterpiece Theater? How has it escaped their radar? It's perfect for that. I am absolutely going to be ordering some more books by Eva Ibbitson. I have several on my TBR coming up. And if anyone ever wants to read this, do mention my name if you heard about it from me, because that would make me feel wonderful. If you, I would love to have a conversation with you about this book to see what you thought of it. I will say, in the interest of fair criticism, that towards the end the pace did change. It definitely sped up. There was this sense of sort of being trapped in time all throughout, and then suddenly at the end a lot of ends get wrapped up, and it does move at a different pace. And I would take it down maybe a half star for that. I would give it like 4.5 stars. But it ended in a very, what to me was a very satisfying way. Yeah. The next book that I wanted to share with you is a book called Mozart's Starling by Lyanda Lynn Haupt. I think that's how you pronounce her name, Haupt. And this was a really interesting book. This one was a bit of a surprise. I originally had taken it out of the library, and here's my library copy. But I had originally taken it out of the library because I was interested when I was reading The Morning Gift, the mention of Mozart's Starling. And so I knew that this book, Mozart's Starling, would give me some information about that. Apparently in May of 1784, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart met a little starling in a Viennese bird shop, a bird vendor, and it sang a version of Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 17 in G major. And so Mozart bought the bird. Rumor has it that he named it Star, and took him home to be a family pet, and he did take care of and love the starling for 3 years before the starling passed away. Now, we always see starlings, well, often in the United States, we see them as a non-native invasive species, and sometimes quite a nuisance. I have many of them at my bird feeder. Right behind this wall here downstairs is my patio. And I will say that there are lots and lots of starlings that come to the feeder and sort of bully the little songbirds away and take over and eat all the food. And while, I wish they wouldn't do that, they're really fascinating birds, and they are quite intelligent. They are extremely bright and able to mimic and sing like parrots, mynah birds, etc. So in Mozart's Starling, the author, Lyanda Lynn Haupt, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, She actually adopted a little starling named Carmen, and it's sort of a braided narrative. So part of it is her talking about raising Carmen from a little abandoned starling baby, feeding it by hand. And she was a raptor rehabilitator in Vermont before she move. And so the author kind of weaves her experiences and observations of Carmen while she was being reared, along with the story of Mozart and his starling, and little bits of interesting information and trivia about Mozart. Now, Mozart is actually my favorite classical composer, bar none. And my sons too, I think. We listen to Mozart all the time. And I was pleasantly surprised that this was part information about starlings and their habitats and the science of starlings and studying starlings and their place in the ecosystem and all of that. But I was really pleasantly surprised, since I love social history and because Mozart is my favorite classical composer, that there was a lot of information about Mozart and his time and what it was like to be a child in Mozart's time, what it was like to grow up then, the music scene in Vienna, the pet stores, his marriage, his children. So just his strained relationship with his father. So there was a lot of really good information. And so even though I did get it from the library, I have since ordered it and am looking forward to it arriving, because I'm definitely going to keep that one. And I don't know if I'll put it on my shelf with music books or on my naturalist book shelf, but we'll see. But anyway, it's a really nice, fairly light summer read. And if you're interested in classical music, if you're interested in Mozart, or if you're interested in starlings, I recommend that book too. Another great little book that you could give as a gift to someone is Letters of Note, Music, compiled by Shaun Usher. Now, Shaun Usher's Letters of Note was a series on the radio, at least here in the United States, and he also has several books available on Letters of Note, and they're all letters from throughout history on a wide variety of subjects that reflect our humanity and our relationships with each other. Then they came up with these little tiny pocket guides, and they're all on particular subjects. So it's letters of note that have to do, in this case, with music. And you'll find all kinds of interesting little letters. All he does is introduce the context of the letter and then present the letter. And there is everyone in here from Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Helen Keller. That's a particularly touching one. Helen Keller's letter to the New York Symphony Orchestra. Steinway and Sons, Ludwig van Beethoven to a little girl, Giuseppe Verdi. The only criticism that I would find with this collection is that it's very male-dominated, and of course the story of music for a while, as all the arts, was heavily dominated by males, and they were given more opportunities. But if you look hard enough throughout the arts and art history, you will find a lot of women. He does mention Angelique Kidjo, Helen Keller, and a few others, but it is predominantly men. But it's a really heartwarming little book. It would make a wonderful little gift to somebody, or to put on a bedstand if you had a guest coming this summer. It's just, it's delightful, and it's a light little read that you can dip in and out of as you go. And so that takes me to another selection, and that is Year of Wonder, Classical Music to Enjoy Day by Day by Clemency Burton-Hill. This is a lovely book. It takes the form of an almanac, and the premise is that you listen to a little piece of music each day, and she gives you a little write-up about it. I'll just find, for example, let's say June 6th, Adagio of Spartacus and Phrygia from Spartacus by Aram Khachaturian. So, I mean, you can see how it's laid out here. You know I love books like this. I have lots of poetry anthologies for every day of the year. So this is a musical piece for every day of the year. Clemency Burton-Hill is herself an award-winning violinist, as well as being a creative director of music and arts at New York Public Radio. And nice work if you can get it. And she just gives you, it's kind of like if you were at a cocktail party and you met her, and she's very nice, and you said, can you give me some recommendations for, you know, just to listen to some classical pieces and to broaden my horizons and learn more about it. What are your favorite pieces? And then she gets all excited and says, oh, well, first you should listen to this one, and this is why I love that. And then next I would try this because he has a real history of sonic harmonies and grew up in this part of the city and learned this and presents this. And then after that, I would listen to this person because they love to, you know, really lean on the timpani and the drums and create a sense of drama and suspense, etc., etc., etc. And she takes you through every day of the year. So these are basically, it's very personal recommendations that she loves. Now at first, I had kind of an issue with it because it didn't, you know, I'm from the age of LPs and CDs, and it did not come with anything. And it took me a while to realize that there is a playlist for this, which is available on most streaming services. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music. So, because I was thinking for a while, wow, what a missed opportunity. You're writing about the pieces, but you're not giving us the pieces. And it would be a bit tedious to try to find 365 pieces on your own for the sake of reading the book. So there is a playlist for it. I will include that down below as well. But it's just a beautiful musical almanac. And it's not really just music appreciation. It becomes kind of a meditative daily practice. It's only going to take you between 2 minutes and maybe 9 minutes, 10 minutes per day. And it's just such a lovely way to greet the day. I think it's beautiful. Or it would be a great way to end the afternoon before supper or something like that, or in the evening when you're relaxing and it's dusk. So then, moving away from all of my musical book choices for the month of June, I did also get a copy of The Morville Hours by Katherine Swift. Look at this cover. I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous. And Katherine Swift, the author, she worked as a rare book librarian in both Oxford and Dublin. She worked with rare books and illuminated manuscripts, such as medieval books of hours. She then became a full-time gardener, and she was a gardening columnist for the Times as well. She wrote several books on gardening. And in, I want to say 1988, she arrived at a place called the Dower House, and that was at Morville in the UK, and she was going to create a garden of her own. So she fashions this book on it takes the form of a medieval book of hours. And so I'll pull up the table of contents here just to give you a better idea. Vigils, lauds, prime, tierce, etc. And it's just a beautiful set of lyrical essays taking you through the entire year, from January and cold and winter, all the way through the seasons, both of the year and gardening, and of some extent of the heart. And she reflects on life and growth and death and cycles and seasons and all of that. And the lyric prose is really rich. If you are not a person who loves that sort of writing and you were looking for something like a factual book of gardening, this is not going to be for you. But again, it's not one that I could take all in one sitting or all at once. It's rather sort of the thing you would dip into now and then and keep on the bedside table when you're looking for some absolutely lovely, lovely prose and read maybe just a few pages. But it's really delightful. And she did write a sequel to this called The Morville Year, which I'd like to check out as well. And this was also a BBC Radio 4 Book of the Week, apparently. So, yeah, and look at the back. The back is just as beautiful. You know, it's mimicking sort of the gold illuminated hours, books of medieval hours. So yeah, The Morville Hours by Katherine Swift. And I do have one children's poetry picture book to share with you to finish up today's video, and that is the illustrated Emily Dickinson 25 Essential Poems. Beautiful. This is done with collage art, and it is edited by Ryan G. Van Cleave. And I'm going to open this up so that you can see some of these gorgeous illustrations. It has very nice, quaint end papers. And this is published by Bushel and Peck Books. They have some really pretty books. And this is about the natural world, ideas and imagination, the heart and spirit. And what I love about this is it's not like a children's textbook or anything. The poem is the star of the show, as is the artwork. But what I do love is that the editor, Ryan Van Cleave, he does give you some excellent suggestions, just sort of subtly along the sides. So to engage, imagine, and define. So like, for example, he says, what do you think the speaker is feeling when spying on the bird at the start of the poem? How would the story of this poem be different if it were told from the bird's point of view? And I'll just find some of the gorgeous illustrations for you. I'm a huge Emily Dickinson fan, and I just think this is such a lovely, lovely tribute to her. Here's one of my favorites. She sweeps with many colored brooms and leaves the shreds behind. Oh, housewife in the evening west, come back and dust the pond. You dropped a purple raveling in, you dropped an amber thread, and now you've littered all the east with duds of emerald. And still she plies her spotted brooms, and still the aprons fly, till brooms fade softly into stars, and then I come away. Look at that. So it's the sunset, and it's like Mother Nature sweeping all the colors into each other. This one is called I Robbed the Woods. It's just gorgeous. And then at the end, he gives a list of facts about Emily Dickinson, and 10 things to know about Emily Dickinson. And then he just gives some really brief commentaries on the poems. And I think it's really a credit to him that he doesn't put his commentary with each poem, because that can be distracting. It's something that's always kind of annoyed me when editors do that. They put their commentary with the poem. I don't mind reading their commentary, but I would like to come to the poem and experience it on my own terms, and I really truly believe in that for children especially. And then look at what the editor has to say about it to sort of frame it or give you additional ideas or information. But this is a gorgeous, gorgeous book, and it's part of the Illustrated Poets collection. So yeah, Emily Dickinson in the summer, sign me up. Well, that's everything I have for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. What are you reading this June? I would love to know. Please let me know in the comments below. As I said, I will be coming back next week with a bigger video about all the things I'm reading this summer and things I'm doing and places I'm going and what I'm reading in the month of June. So I do hope you will join me. I've shared a lot of beautiful titles with you. A lot of them were musical. Why don't we end on a musical note? My son recently came to me with a piece of paper that had a lot of strange sort of petroglyphic markings on it, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. And then he turned on Strauss, some classical music by Strauss, and it was called the Trish Trash Polka. And he started playing along and showing me how the symbols correspond in his mind to the music. And I'd love to share a little clip of that with you as I take us out. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.